Again, three. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Community Dissection. In this episode, we are going to dissect the Pandora Community. If you're familiar with the streaming service, when I logged into my Pandora account, it took me back to radio playlists, whatever, from college. I was like, oh, this is a throwback. And Todd, I know you had a similar experience. I'm joined by Todd Nilson of Clocktower Advisors.
Hi, great to be back on the show again. I've really been enjoying this series that you've been running.
Thanks, Todd. So glad to have you. And maybe as a warm-up, what was the throwback music throwback that happened upon you when you logged into your Pandora account?
I think it popped up with some like an old, really old, like choral piece, like this album called Adiemus, which is kind of like, new agey sort of synth music.
Yes.
It was a bit of a blast from the past for sure.
Yes, mine was Regina Spektor in my like angsty college.
Nice.
So I'm excited to dive into this because Pandora is like, I do frankly use Spotify personally, and so I haven't used Pandora, but I know that it is still a popular streaming service. So I'm excited to see their community strategy. And so just to dive right in, I just want to show people just what the community looks like, what we're looking at here. And we'll share a little bit about what we found. Oh, don't worry, you don't need to see my Pandora playlist.
Oh, come on, we want to look.
Yeah, no, not today. Not while these episodes are still unpaid. So this is the landing page for the community, and the sense I got right away was, and I really appreciate, well, this community is hosted on Khoros. We've dissected many communities on Khoros, and this is a popular kind of landing page layout selection. To me personally, the search takes up way too much real estate. Like, I want to know immediately like what this community is for. I don't want to be like, I'm like, tell me what it's for. I don't want to have to like search for what it's for.
Yeah.
But I'll say that these three call to actions, Pandora for creators, subscriptions, and community chat, kind of telling me like the three things that happen here. And so I do appreciate that clarity and simplicity. So I'm gonna pause here and give a little bit of background before we dive into the actual design and kind of architecture of the community. But Pandora, popular music streaming service, it was founded in 2000 and in Oakland, California. And initially the company's focus was on building a system to help musicians find an audience for their music. But they soon realized that there was a demand for personalized radio stations that could adapt to listener preferences. The team developed the Music Genome Project, a system that analyzed the attributes of songs and created a personalized radio station based on the user's input. And this concept proved to be a hit. By 2005, they had over 2 million registered users. In the years that followed, the company expanded the platform to include a mobile app and partnerships with car manufacturers, enabling users to stream the music in their vehicles. It feels like so archaic to read some of this. Like, I feel so old. Oh no. like streaming music in the vehicles.
I remember back in the day when we could stream music in our vehicles.
Right. It just sounds so old. But it's like, I feel like I'm supposed to be recording on something current.
I learned about something called the Bluetooth.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So in 2011, a little bit more recently, when they went public, and then in 2021, they had over 60 million active monthly users and generated billions in revenue. So despite some really stiff competition from competitors like Spotify, which if you haven't checked out our Spotify community dissection, you should do that. I'll link to that video. But their commitment to that personalized, unique music discovery algorithm has kept it at the forefront. So without further ado, let's dive back in. And I'm going to give, yeah, so good. I'm going to share just those of the three main call to actions that I showed in the beginning. I'm just going to show you what some of those pages look like, and then I'm going to open it up to Todd to hear, as you clicked around, if there's other places you want to take us or insights that you've had. So first of all, we have, oh, go back here. Okay, so Pandora for creators. So that's, here is a creators community, which I was a little bit confused by the word creator at first, but to me, like, they're like artists, I guess, but whatever. So this is super cool to me. This is something that, it was our biggest critique of the Spotify community, but there was no evidence of supporting. There's kind of like these two communities that you're fostering as a streaming service, your community of listeners and your community of creators. And there was nothing in Spotify to support creators. And so I really appreciate that they have opened up. It sounds like there is support for creators, where they can ask questions and get help. I think the kind of like next enhanced meta version of community infusing this space is empowering your creators to create their own micro communities of their followers, because especially in the music industry, where fandom and, artists by nature create an audience, like they have an audience of people who are listening to them. I think there's a huge opportunity to teach artists how to create a community out of their followers and out of their audience. And so I think whenever Pandora's ready for that, that would be an incredible way to level up not just this like global Pandora community, but to empower your artists to create these small micro communities. Seems like it would create an even healthier ecosystem that like uplifts both Pandora, but also the artists. So that was not something that I necessarily saw here, but I just want to acknowledge, like, it's already a ton of work just to provide the help and support for creators. And I love that they're doing that. So that's one section. The next was our subscriptions here. And so this seems like help forum, billing issues, which I'm, okay, is it, I don't know, like, it's always like considered in community, but I kind of struggle with it being like a real
So that's what that was.
program, but
That's
oh
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it was like, oh, here's where you can pay for a subscription, but this is actually a troubleshooting area for like for support.
Yes.
Wow, I wouldn't have called it subscriptions. Okay.
And
because like I totally skipped over that section. I was like, oh, well, that's not actually part of the community. I made an assumption that was something different entirely.
Funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah, no, this is like help forum. I can totally see how you like from this. I guess here they have like a one-stop shop for all your subscription related questions, but I would like tech support.
Yeah.
Would be a little bit more on part.
I would change that label to support.
Yeah.
But they've got support up top too in the top nav. So I don't know, is that leading me to the same place? Ooh, there's a lot of choices there. Subcategories.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you have subscriptions, which I think does get a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Let's move over into community chat. So this was interesting. It's as my brain is just trying to figure out the layout here. And if we look at like the top bar here, and Todd, I know you had some thoughts on this. So I'd love to, if you want to share your insights on kind of what you would adjust about community chat versus some of the other areas.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first of all, I think community chat was the first place that I wanted to go to. I wanted to see that information, and I think the thing that was confusing to me was that it's living under the listener lounge in the top navigation. So if you hover up on the listener lounge, that'll take me to community chat. But then there's this other area called music and podcasts, which is also kind of sort of community chat. So like just the architecture of this, I feel like it's a little overbuilt. I mean, there's clearly activity in here. There's what does that say? 1,295 posts. Is that what it said at the top there?
Oh, let me, yeah,
Yeah, right under, okay.
595.
How does that compare to the actual community chat area?
Oh, instructions. Okay, here's music and podcast instructions. I'm curious about that. This one has 1100. And
Okay.
this seems like, so I was searching for like an onboarding experience. We haven't introduced yourself, which I'm curious about, but let's look at this. Okay, welcome to Music and Podcast. Steps for posting your playlist. Save an image.
Oh, I
Some
can post my
photos.
playlist here. Okay.
Got it. Oh, the formatting is so difficult that we need step-by-step instructions.
I guess.
No. I mean, I appreciate the level of
There's care and detail here. Yeah, for sure.
yes, definitely.
So like if I was like a serious Pandora nerd, sure, I'll do that. I'll take the time for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next week, top 10. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, listen here. Okay, cool. So maybe this is like also kind of a way for what's in it for them. That's what I'm just like curious about. Is there like this? Okay, it's by Pandora. Is it just to geek out? Is there like some sort of like, there's gamification within this community, but I'm curious what motivates someone to be publishing here, other than like just the nature of like affinity and kind of nerding out on music and podcasts. Oh, okay, here we go. So going back to our introduce yourself chat. Oh, because that's what I wanted to look at was
Yeah, I did look at that.
in community chat.
There's an introduce
This
yourself section.
Got it. So this is just like a more broad karaoke versus the music and podcast is specifically about like your playlists or listing podcasts that you're listening to. So
Yeah.
I understand that a little bit more now.
Yeah. It takes a little orientation though. There might be some better signposting around some of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I love one of my favorite, as we've dissected different communities, like really creating like a map of the, not just the like one user journey, but like, hey, like little signposts, like air traffic control. Like if you're a creator, like, especially because there are two different communities they're fostering here. Like this is the space for creators. This is a space for listeners, and making those two segments super clear. And so like, hey, as a creator, you can start by asking questions. Over time, you can share like how you grew your audience, like show the progression of like for that avatar. And the same for the listener, like, here's the journey that you can take and some of the actions and how they weave through your community experience. That's always so helpful.
And I go back to something that you said at the outset of the dissection here, which was if we go back to the landing page for the community, there's a lot of unused real estate here at the top. Yes. Where some better orientation could happen. And I've seen various iterations of how Khoros can be configured to allow for a little bit more of that air traffic control. I love the way you put that air traffic control to help people understand where to go or how to use some of the different pieces. That's nice. I've even seen some communities sort of highlight most recent discussions up here in the top section. That was something that was missing for me on this. Like I have to scroll all the way down to see like where the join in discussions are. They put the blogs above like what I care about, which is the discussions in the community, which is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine.
Yes. Yeah. This like static, long-standing content. I'm always just curious. I'm just curious about the role of content in community as it is today. And I'm especially curious with AI, where it's going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think imagine, if we start to, see communities reconfigure per user, like high personalization based on what people want, it will relay out the page for me based on what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I could foresee that happening in the not too terribly distant future for some of these platforms.
Come on, platforms.
Yep.
Help us out here.
Bring it home.
Exactly. I'll give a little shout out to their leaderboard over here, top contributors. Khoros has like the badges, and always it is fun for some layer of gamification. I don't think people like join a community so that they can like become number one on the leaderboard. But if you like get into it and you start getting some traction, it can feel rewarding. And actually, Todd, can we segue to what you liked about the community at that?
Yeah, so this was really interesting for me. There was an experience when I came in to take a look at the community here for the first time. I still had my old login saved in my my password keeper, and it logged me in using my Pandora account. So that was nice that I didn't have to do a separate login. Hooray for single sign-on.
Yes.
And then it brought me in, and it did remind me that I had an ad blocker on, which I thought was curious. I got like an audio reminder saying, like, turn off your ad blocker, please. And I said, okay, wait a minute.
Oh, funny.
But yeah, but then when I got into the community, I immediately had like 6 or 9 notifications, something like that. And I checked out what they were. And one was a welcome message from the community manager, which is a good best practice to have. But like the others were all badge earnings based on my past use of Pandora as an app. And, you know, early 2000s and even into the 2010s, I was, you know, putting on Pandora in the background, got some surfer music on or whatever, and listening while I accrued a fair number of hours. So I had like a lot of badges that were there from when I came in. And the effect for me was
actually the super user.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I'm already a super user. This is really cool. So that was actually very nice and validating. A sort of we recognize you, the subtext, you know, we recognize you, we appreciate your past, you know, patronage of this, and like you're welcome. It was like a red carpet treatment. I thought that was a really nice experience.
Mm-hmm. That's so important, and it's something that's often missing due to the technological limitations, where you're integrating the community experience with the product experience. And we'll reward gamification for actions that someone takes in the community, but we don't reward for like, well, but this person's like actually like they are actually using our product so much, and just because they haven't posted in the community, like they should still feel that reward and that recognition in the community, even if it's different than like some of the approved actions that we might want to encourage in the community. So
yeah, it was sort of, oh, yeah, we remember you. That's, you know, that was nice. The one thing I'll mention that was not so nice was I also, within the first 5 minutes of being in the community, had a pop-up that said, hey, can you take a survey for us?
I had that too. Yes. Yep.
And I said, no, I've been here 5 minutes. I have nothing to give you any information about. So.
But you can see my full, instead of taking a survey, see our whole community dissection video on YouTube. Right. Like just link to this video in your survey. You know, something that you said actually triggered something for me. So you said that this voice message popped up, which is like a little bit weird and kind of intrusive. But I also am like, for these communities that are centered around streaming, why do we not have more community experiences that are like, everything is text always in communities, especially like in these big enterprise platforms? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe people who are streaming music doesn't necessarily mean that they want to like talk to other people, but I'm like, could a voice room, or like, it's just like such an audio centered community.
Yeah.
And there's no audio experience. There's rarely an audio experience other than like live events in communities. I guess unless you have like you have a platform where you can do an audio room. I don't know. Have you seen that very much, Todd, in your experience?
Yeah. I mean, I you know, certainly Discord servers offer an audio experience, you know, for gamers that I think, you know, works pretty well. I always feel like ever since Clubhouse, you know, kind of losing its luster happened, that sort of that approach to audio-based community experiences has waned in popularity a little bit. I don't think it should go away. I think it's entirely appropriate, as you say, for an audio-based, you know, platform or experience, a streaming service like this for music. to have audio messages, that would be really nice. Or even audio messages that transcribe, for just for maximum accessibility. I can easily skim these things, but if I want to hear the voices of people that are, especially in the creator community,
Right.
where they do that for a living, I mean, that'd be kind of neat to be able to offer that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, it just seems like there's just sort of this like philosophical disconnect where I'm like, oh, the thing that we're all doing is like listening, and then we all come in and we like, and there's just pages and pages of like the interaction is reading, like you're just reading and reading and reading.
Well, and especially in something in like the Khoros community, which as I was looking at this again, I was a little puzzled by the choice of Khoros as a platform here, just because Pandora, by and large, or at least the way that I think of it, is usually a mobile app. And Khoros is really good for support communities and desktop experiences. I don't know how great it is on the mobile. It's not a mobile first design for sure. Which it's a powerful community. It's got great integrations, highly customizable, but as a mobile experience, I don't know that would be the first platform that I would go to think about supporting a user base that's probably on the go and having interactions that way.
Right. Well, and I mean, I think the dream world, if you can get the resources internally, is you're building out a physical product that could integrate communities so easily directly into the app. But I think we know the struggle of like internally leadership is not always on board with that. And so I don't know, I hope to like challenge the Pandora team in that way and say like, there's so much value already being generated in this space. And I think there's a huge opportunity to enhance it. And it might create a little bit more, having it in this separate space in an all-in-one platform like Khoros creates a little bit of dissonance. And so how could you integrate the community experience into the app directly? But I know that's a huge project.
Yeah. Well, and what I would say with that is of all the the platform providers that are out there, I know Khoros is one of those organizations that is happy to try to create integrations or customizations for their product. And so they've got a good API library. Being able to tie into an existing mobile app is something they should be able to do if there was an appetite to make that happen. I feel the need to say, I really want to say some encouraging things to the community management team. 274,000 registered members and 463 online at the moment. That's an active community. It's really nice to see. I think there's a nice kudos to the team for engaging people and keeping the conversations going. I see it as a very active community management team. They're jumping in, encouraging people, asking questions. Stuff that I would be looking to see.
Yeah. Well, and I'll acknowledge too our own limitation that there might be, we're not looking at the app right now. And so I'm not entirely sure of when and where the app is prompting people to be involved in the community as well. So there might be more connections there. Right now, we're just focusing on desktop. So those are really good call outs and qualifications, Todd. I wanted to share my one insight for what I think is missing, because I think the one thing that I would adjust in this community is the onboarding experience. And we talked about giving a little bit more of a map and some pathways, helping people find like where are they in the journey and where are they going. There is this introduce yourself post, and I love how Eric like sets the tone for the type of post like they want to see here. I think that's actually like something that's often missing is the community, like the community managers are in there all the time, but you never actually you're like, but who are you? So Eric, great job. Love that. And it just, really that modeling the behavior is going to do like like I literally didn't even, I'm like, oh, okay, there's some bullet points here, but I scroll to this and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And that is what members will do. They will not read what you have posted. They will not read what the pinned post instructions. It's important to still have, you can't not have it. But what they will do is they will look at to model the behavior that they see existing in the content. So Eric, I think, did an awesome job there. And look at that. Look at this, like clean, beautiful intros. So I do love that. I had to like poke fun at this because when I clicked around and went into like the rabbit hole in the beginning, I found this welcome post, something about welcome, and I was like, oh, maybe like I found that welcome. Maybe I found the welcome space. I'm like, okay, I went from Pandora Community to Listener Lounge to Community Chat to this. It's just
hey y'all.
Hey y'all. My personal favorite is that it's moderator edited title for clarity. And then it's literally just 589 replies of like, hey, hi.
I think it's really sweet.
It is. It's kind of a bless your heart situation.
Yeah, totally.
But I think just something a little bit more like on the front page of like, oh, welcome. Here's what this community is for. And which reminds me, so Eric was really kind enough to connect with me before we started this episode. And he shared that the community launched in just like more recently in September of 2019. That must have been fun, launching right before COVID.
Yeah.
And the original purpose behind the community was to support three goals: education and support to their listeners, to bring music fans together to share their thoughts, feelings, and ideas, and then to crowdsource ideas, input, and content. So as I asked Eric how he's seen it evolve over time. Oh, and I'll stop sharing. And he said, from 0 members to where they are now, they've been able to add the group hub to provide direct support for creators and artists to the first I've seen for a music streaming service, which I would agree. I think that's like an amazing addition to the community. And I hope they continue to expand it. And what's interesting, Todd, is like I mentioned in my little history how the company started. The focus was on building a system to help musicians find an audience for their music. And it's cool to see that they pivoted from that, but it's interesting that original vision actually is supported in this community, that you are creating an environment and supporting those creators and artists just through bringing them together so that they can problem solve together. So I think that's a cool full circle moment for this community.
It really is. Yeah, that's nice to see.
Yeah. Any other insights, Todd? Do you have any key takeaways from this dissection?
I'm just going to take a quick look at my notes here. I think we covered a lot of the stuff. I think there are some things like maybe a little more orientation for new creators when they get into that space. Will be wonderful to see. And I saw that there was an events widget in the creator community, but there were no events in there. So I think there's an opportunity to maybe populate that, or maybe there was something there and I just missed it. But I kind of clicked around, at least for the current month, and I didn't see anything kind of popping out at me there. And so maybe that's a rather new thing that they just turned on, and they're getting ready to maybe do a little bit more with it. But I think like even just overall, like more events in the community would be amazing to see. Yeah, there it is. Right. Yeah. So I don't see anything highlighted in here. And I would just turn it off if there's nothing there at the moment. Yeah, but I think, creator events 0, right? Yeah, nobody likes to see a 0 there. So yeah, so I would say, that's worth maybe probably spending a little time with the team to put together even a regular office hours kind of thing, or like a creators chat, do some live Zooms or something to pull everybody together into a little bit more of a synchronous live, kind of video interaction.
Yes, yes, it diversifies the like just type of experience that you have in the community. And yeah, events are a whole, I mean, if you've listened to this before, you know, my mantra of community design having 3 pillars: events, conversation, and content. And so clearly a lot of conversation and content being generated here, but events are such a phenomenal program to add to your community.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is it doesn't always have to be led by the admin. It does have to be facilitated and fostered, and they take a lot of work. But I always know when I go into a community that has events running, because that's something good is happening there. Because if people are showing up to your events, that's when you know there's value being generated. You know, you might not always, I can look at the content being produced, but that doesn't necessarily tell me if people are benefiting from it, if they found it helpful, if it's changing something for them. But when someone commits time to attend an event, I'm like, oh yeah, they see some sort of value here, either that they've been marketed to or they attended an event in the past that has given them something that they showed up again. So I think that's a really excellent call out. Great. Well, thanks, Todd. I think I've said everything that all the insights that I had here. Main takeaways: expanding the creator. Let's see if I can find it. Clicked around too much. Expanding the offering for creators and helping them build their own micro communities which is easy to say, hard to do.
Yep.
But then I think the more accessible, just low hanging fruit is the onboarding experience, which we discussed. So overall, I like to say for the Pandora community management team, if you're watching this, we hope you take this in the spirit of curiosity and generosity that it is intended. Todd and I know just how hard it is to not only work internally on a team to try to get, your community the resources required to grow and to thrive, but how difficult it is to build that community and to foster it online. So kudos, you guys are doing amazing work, and it gives us, it gives us some great stuff to not just applaud, but also hopefully it gave you some good takeaways too for ways that you can continue to iterate and enhance and make it even better. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you. I'm going to link to the Spotify episode so you can watch that, and we'll see you on our next dissection.
Thanks again. Bye.
Right.